Okay, if you've been following Indian cricket lately, you've definitely heard the noise. I mean, ever since Gautam Gambhir took over as coach, there's been this constant drumbeat of criticism, of disappointment from the fans. You can almost feel the heartbreak, right? But is this just a tough transition period, or are we looking at something, well, fundamentally broken in the team? That's what we're here to figure out. And that really is the big question hanging over Indian Test cricket right now. So in this explainer, we're going to treat this like a proper investigation. We're going to open the case file, look at all the evidence, the stats, the team selections, the strategies, and try to get to the bottom of what's really going on in the Gambhir era. So here's our game plan. We're going to start by putting the two eras, before Gambhir and after, side by side. Then we'll zero in on some key problem areas on the field, especially that number 3 spot. After that, we'll scrutinize some, let's say, puzzling selection choices, break down the big strategic shifts, and finally look at the off-field pressures that might be making things even worse. All right, first things first, let's look at the hard numbers. We're comparing the 17 months right before Gambhir's appointment with the 17 months since he took over. This is the foundation of our entire case, so let's dig in. And this, right here, is where the story starts to get pretty concerning. In the pre-Gambhir era, India was a powerhouse. In 13 tests, they won 8. They were almost impossible to beat at home. Now, fast forward to the Gambhir era. They've actually played more cricket, 19 tests. But look at the results. They've just cratered. Losing 5 out of 9 tests at home? That's not a slump, my friends. That is a fortress absolutely crumbling. And if you need one chart to tell the whole story, this is it. The win percentage has just fallen off a cliff, from over 61% down to just under 37%. Just let that sink in for a second. This isn't some minor dip. It's a full-blown collapse. The team played more matches, but the quality of the results? It fell right through the floor. So where did it all go wrong on the field? Our investigation keeps pointing back to one critical point of failure, that all-important number 3 batting position. I mean, just look at this contrast. On the left, in the previous era, you had a rock-solid foundation. Just 2 main players, mostly Shubman Gill, owned that spot. But on the right, under Gambhir, it has been absolute chaos, a revolving door with 7 different players tried out. That kind of instability at the top of the order, it sends shockwaves of uncertainty through the entire lineup. And the England series was just a perfect, mind-boggling example of this chaos. Siddharthan plays at 3, he gets dropped. Nar comes in, does pretty well, and then he gets dropped. Siddharthan gets recalled, only for Nar to be brought back in again. It's dizzying. This doesn't look like a strategy, it looks like panic. And it puts an impossible amount of pressure on these players. Now, this whole issue of instability wasn't just at number 3. And it leads us to the next exhibit in our investigation, the wider selection policies. You have to start asking, were players being picked on merit, or was something else going on? Some of these player management decisions are just genuinely baffling. Think about Sarfaraz Khan. He has a dream debut, smashes 150, and what's his reward? He gets pushed down the order. Or look at the England tour, where Karan Nair actually outscored Sai Sudarshan, yet Nair is the one who gets dropped. Decisions like these don't just raise a few eyebrows, they can absolutely crush a player's confidence. And it gets even more confusing when you look at their red ball records. Karun Nair averages over 50 in first-class cricket. Sarfaraz Khan's is averaging a phenomenal 63. Yet somehow, Sai Sudarshan, with a much lower average, was the one getting a consistent run. It really forces you to ask, why were these proven domestic performers being overlooked? And that very question leads us to a really critical theory, the IPL factor. It certainly looks like players who had a fantastic T20 season, like Orange Cap winner Sai Sudarshan or Purple Cap winner Prasidh Krishna, were being fast-tracked into the test side. The big question is, was this happening regardless of whether their skills were truly suited for the longest, toughest format of the game? This wasn't just about picking one player over another. We're talking about a fundamental shift in the entire team's philosophy. So let's now look at what seems to be an obsession with packing the team full of all-rounders. See, for years, India had this proven, beautifully balanced formula for winning test matches. It was simple. 5 specialist batters to pile on the runs, 3 specialist bowlers to hunt for 20 wickets, and 3 all-rounders to provide that crucial depth. It wasn't just a random strategy. It was a recipe that worked time and time again. But under Gambhir, we've seen a radical departure from that winning formula. In a massive test match against South Africa, India decided to roll the dice, going in with only 3 specialist batters and cramming the side with 5 all-rounders. This wasn't a small tweak. This was a massive gamble, basically betting the house that these players could contribute equally with both bat and ball. So, did this huge gamble actually pay off? Well, the evidence suggests a resounding no. The bowling from these extra all-rounders was almost non-existent. Washington Sundar bowled 49 overs in that series for just a single wicket. So instead of making the team stronger, this strategy seemed to dilute both the batting and the bowling, leaving India exposed on all fronts. And finally, we have to look beyond the boundary rope. Let's talk about the pressures coming from off the field. Because as we all know, performance isn't just about what happens in the middle. It's also about preparation and player welfare. And this is just staggering. Take a look at the schedule for that South Africa tour. The team finishes a high-intensity T20 series against Australia on November 8th. And just 6 days later, they're walking out for the first test of a major series on a different continent. That's not a quick turnaround. That is a burnout schedule, plain and simple. The result of this scheduling was completely predictable, wasn't it? 4 key players were in both squads, which gave them basically no time to rest, to acclimatize, or even just switch their mindset from T20 to Test cricket. And what happened? Fatigue and injury, with a key player like Shubman Gill breaking down. This isn't just bad luck, it's a clear failure in workload management from the very top. So when you put all the evidence together, the plummeting win rate, the chaos at number 3, the perplexing selections, the flawed all-rounder strategy, and that impossible scheduling, a really troubling picture emerges. The problem isn't just one thing. It seems to be a combination of everything, all at once. Indian cricket is playing more matches than ever, but winning far less. And the one question that every single fan is demanding an answer to is, who is accountable?